So I never thought I would say this, but I'm broke. Okay, and when I say broke, I mean I just don't have any available cash, and here's why. You know, it cost me a lot of money to get myself out of the rat race. Now, everyone always talks about, Tommy, you want to get out of the rat race, and you do this by building passive income, you do this and you do that, but no one talks about exactly how expensive it actually is to actually get out of a system that's built to actually keep you in the system. And now, to get out of the rat race, it cost me nearly $500,000. In this video, I'm going to break down all the details to why that is. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you the 3 things that keep people in the rat race. Number 2, I'm also going to tell you exactly how to stay out of the rat race. Because guess what? You might get out of the rat race, but then there's another question here. Are you actually going to stay out of the rat race forever? That's a lot harder. And there are 2 things you actually want to avoid when it comes to this. In this video, I'm going to give you absolutely all the details and tell you exactly why your boy is actually broke. Okay, so as always, guys, like this video on top of also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And by the way, I've never been happier being this broke than I was when I was basically super broke, okay? Because that was a whole different level of broke, but this broke is better. A lot better overall, okay, guys? So the very first thing is, guys, how much did it actually cost people to actually get out of the rat race? The first thing is, guys, okay, what keeps people in the rat race, which most people never talk about? The first thing is debt and also lack of security. You want to make sure, let me fix this microphone right here. You want to make sure that people stay in the rat race. You give them, for example, a lot of debt, and you also give them no way to prepare themselves for any emergency. This way, they're always dependable on you, and on top of that, they're always basically almost drowning. And that's what it usually happens, okay? So overall, this sounds very simple, right? Well, Tommy, all you gotta do is pay off your debts and basically build up an emergency account, and that's it. Everyone makes it sound so simple, but I was doing some math, and in my lifetime, which by the way, I'm not that old, but in my lifetime, I accumulated nearly a little bit over $77,000 in debt. Some of it was good debt, some of it was bad debt, but overall to me, it was all trash debt, because even the good debt, it increased my level of risk. On top of that, if things had gone bad like they could have, and I saw it go bad for so many people out there during like the whole pandemic, if things had caught me off guard back then, it could have wiped me out completely. And there is no risk on this earth that's worth me basically risking everything I have. So terrible idea. So think about it. Wiping off debt for me cost me nearly almost $77,000. On top of that, when it comes to building up an emergency account, that sounds simple. Yeah, just save some money up. You cover 3 months or 6 months or 12 months worth of expenses. That's it. Simple stuff. But when you think about it, you're asking someone to save the equivalent of 3 months worth of their expenses when the average person living paycheck to paycheck and has not even $1,000 saved up. So it's also pretty hard. So overall, once you sum up all this stuff for me personally, it was nearly $100,000 just to complete the very first step that gets people and keeps people in the rat race, okay? Number 2 is basically high cost of living. For some reason, when I thought about being rich and wealthy and all this stuff, I thought about having multiple cars. I thought about having a lot of gold chains. I thought about, for example, just having this luxurious lifestyle and this mansion that I wouldn't even know how many bathrooms I had, okay? That's what I thought about. But today, I think about how stupid that was and how stupid I basically was. And overall, not stupid, I would call myself ignorant because I just didn't know what I didn't know, okay? So one of the things that keeps people in their rat race for a very long time is that they have a high cost of living. A high cost of living keeps you having to work because you need to sustain your high cost of living. Now, that basically means that everything I thought I wanted, the cars, the mansion, the things, all those things are gonna cost me a bunch of money to actually sustain it. So thus, I was gonna stay in the rat race for longer. That's why people ask themselves, how is it possible that someone that has a $200,000 income is still broke? Because everything they own is beyond their means, and that keeps them in the rat race for longer. So for me personally, I try to pay off my home as fast as possible because for most people, that is going to be nearly half or a third of their income right there. So by paying off my home, that cost me somewhere about $170,000 overall, $170 overall. The answer is that cut my living costs by a third, like a lot, okay? Now, by the way, I know I'm gonna get this text or this comment down below saying, Tommy, I live in California. Or I live in New York. I used to live in New York also. And the question is, well, I can't find a place for that much money. It's impossible. So you gotta ask yourself a question, okay? Here's some options. You can always, for example, get a commute. That basically means you buy something outside of the city, you commute for an hour or 2 hours every single day, and that way you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Number two is you can always move to another state that's more affordable. Number three is you can keep complaining about it and do nothing about it, okay? And that doesn't really do anything whatsoever. The idea is there are options out there to actually go ahead and make it possible. The idea is when it comes to buying a home is you don't need to pay cash for it, or for example, buy a little tiny home or live in a trailer. The idea is just buy something you can afford to pay it in 15 years. That's no more than a third of your monthly income net. And that's the idea. And put down 10, 20%, and that's it. Now, if you can't find something in your area, look outside of your area. If you can't find something there, look in another state. You gotta prioritize, not, for example, your state. Prioritize yourself. You can always, it's hard to say, because moving out, building new roots, leaving your family, all these things are super important. So it's a very hard decision, but overall it comes down to what you're willing to do. So you don't need to pay off a home super early. If it takes you 15 years, but you're happy doing it, then that's what makes most sense for you, okay? You don't need to move like I did because again, I could do that because I don't have any kids or I don't have a wife yet, so I can have a lot more flexibility with my choices. But if I have a wife and kids, it's a little more different, but it all depends on your sacrifices and what you're actually willing to do. Now, the third thing that keeps people in the rat race is going to be lack of passive income to cover their expenses. Now, you might say, Tommy, all you gotta do is put money into real estate, you get rental income, that's it. I heard about it is burr, boom, 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 I'm rich. Okay, all right, sounds easy. Or all you got to do is put money in the stock market, S&P 500, 10, 20 years, you got that money, boom, 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 I'm rich. The answer is, it sounds easy on paper, right? Everything does, but it takes a lot of willpower. And when you think about it, the reason I tried to lower my expenses by so much was because that would mean I would need less money to be producing passive income because I would need less to actually live. That was the big idea between paying off my home and all that stuff, okay? But you know how hard it is to be able to pay off a bill with passive income? Here's how hard it is, okay? So I have a friend and he pays about $40 every time he gets his haircut. Now multiply that by 2, okay? That's $80 a month. Multiply that by 12, that's around what, like $890? Well, $960, a lot. Well, I was off. $960, okay? $960. Now, if you follow the 4% rule when it comes to stocks, basically saying only take out 4% of your investments to pay off that bill, it would mean that this one bill here divided by 0.0, which is 4%, the answer is it would cost me about $24,000. Basically saying, to cover just one simple bill like a haircut, I would need to have an investment account with the amount of $24,000. Now, once you start adding things up here, my expenses per month are only about $1,000 because again, I have a paid off home. But that means that's $12,000 a year. And that basically means that divided by 0.04 is $300,000. That's how much it cost me to cover my bills. That's how expensive it is, okay? Now imagine if I said, you know what I want? I want to live a rock star lifestyle. And I want to have a $4,000 per month lifestyle, right? So that times 12, that's $48,000. Divide that by 0.04, well, I need $1.2 million. You know how long it takes you to have $1.2 million? Years, decades. So I made a choice and said, I don't want to wait decades. I'd rather get something smaller, I'm comfortable in, I can raise a family in. That's what's important to me, financial independence and freedom. I don't care about the fancy stuff. So that's why I made that conscious choice. But those are the three main things that keep people in their rat race. So that's it. Comes down to, for example, debt. Also, lack of some emergency fund, comes down to high cost of living. You want to lower that. On top of that, it comes down also to, lastly, have enough passive income to actually pay all your bills. So I achieved the first phase. Awesome. But guess what? It doesn't stop there. And that's why I'm broke. And here's why, okay? Because the second phase, which is basically to stay out of the rat race, it comes down to one simple rule. It comes down to, first, you want to diversify. And second, you actually want to increase the amount of passive income you actually get. And here's why. You want to diversify because if you are just reliant on the stock market and let's say it goes down by 50%, and you try to sell more, then you're going to lose that in the long term because the stock market is all about long-term investing and basically keeping that money in there, not interrupting it, and all that good stuff. So You want to diversify, for example, let's say into real estate, into a business. This way you get cash flow. And if something goes down, doesn't mean the other business or your tenants are not going to pay you. That's the idea. So for me, my next game, my next phase is going to be real estate. I have one rule. I want to buy real estate that gives me an 8% return. I also want to buy real estate without any debt. That's going to take me a lot more time. It's going to be a lot less riskier, but overall, it's also going to be a lot more expensive. So for me personally, I have a simple goal. My first phase for that real estate stuff is just to make $1,000 per month. That's going to cost me somewhere about $150,000. That gives me double the amount of money I basically need in passive income, which basically means, hey, I'm getting closer to staying out the rat race. And as far as, for example, continuing to increase my passive income, I made a rule. I want to keep investing always 15 to 20% into the stock market. That way, I just keep having more money build up in there. So I don't just have 300K. I get to $1 million in there over the next, over the next few years or whatever. And the answer is, if I have $1 million in there, but I only need like 300K. If I have some real estate that pays me let's say $2,000-$3,000 per month, but I only need $1,000, the answer is you have a lot more cushion. So when things go wrong, they don't go wrong for you in a sense, okay? Because that's what you really want to build. You want to build a financial stronghold. So when things go wrong, you're kind of covered. That's the idea overall. And you also want to have a really good emergency fund to secure the bag when the time comes. So overall, guys, that's how much it actually cost me to basically get out the rat race, how much it's going to cost me to actually stay out the rat race. And lastly, I did make some mistakes along the way. First of all, when I bought that home in Puerto Rico, I made it too nice, okay? I put too much money into it. And I only bought that home because I just thought about hey, it's the next logical step to take, Tommy. It's time to buy a home. Very stupid idea when you think about it. It's just the next step to take. Just do that. Stupid. Don't do it like that, okay? You want to buy a home when you need a home. And for me personally, I will need a home when I have a family that I'm ready to raise, and my wife is asking for a home, okay? But for me personally, I'm probably gonna be selling that home in the next 2 years or so, and get on that money, buying something even potentially cheaper where I live, basically in my home, what is it called, where you're from, my home place, my hometown. I don't know what it's called. Okay, my hometown. Okay, buy something that's actually a lot nicer, but you get a lot more bang for your buck overall, guys. Okay, so that was my mistake, making a big purchase on something that I did not need at the time, but it just felt like the right thing to do. And finance and money is not about feelings, my friends. It is about making logical decisions, okay? The only feelings that are involved in here are just, for example, controlling your emotions and letting money compound. But overall, guys, that is the reason why I'm broke. I'm playing a different game. The game is start the rat race. To do that, it takes time, it takes compound interest, and the goal is I want to get there before I turn 30. So by the time I turn 30, I can basically have that much security. That would be great. And if I don't get that by that time, then there's a lot more time to go. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Comment down below, made it, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. And comment down below exactly how much would it cost you to basically get out of the rat race. So that basically means how much debt do you have to pay off? How much emergency fund you have to save? On top of that, how much is it going to cost you to actually buy the home you actually want to buy? And lastly, okay, how much passive income do you need to cover all of your bills overall, okay, per month? But remember, if you don't have a house pay, if you don't have a mortgage, that's different because it's gonna be a lot lower. So comment down below and let me know. Run those numbers, okay? Even if you don't comment down below, run those numbers and have them with you, because it's important to know and gauge how much you need. Because if you don't know how much you need, then where exactly are you going and how much money you're saving and why you're doing what you need to do, okay? So that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Comment down below. Up here, another banger. Right here, my face, subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially.